Alright, so this is my first video in my series of reviews on the AC/DC studio albums. I'm just doing studio albums for now. Eventually I'll do the live ones, but for now I'm just doing studio albums of every band I review. Anyway, I kind of decided to review AC/DC now since they just put an album out, Power Up, which I bought and I've listened to about twice, and I'll get around to reviewing it, of course, in a few months probably. But anyway, for this band, in some of their early albums, there are different versions. There's like Australian versions and American versions, from what I understand. I have the American versions, and those are going to be the ones I'm reviewing, just because I don't have the Australian versions, and these are kind of the ones I grew up with, so they're what I'm used to. So this puts their first album at the, well, the first chronologically, I guess, in terms of when the songs were recorded, because I think this was actually released later over here than some of the albums that they actually recorded later. But I'm not really sure about that. I've like kind of read stuff on it, but I can't really remember all of it off the top of my head. So anyway, High Voltage, which I think this album is like songs from their first two Australian releases kind of combined. It says, my notes I guess I took from what it says in here, it says it was produced by Harry Vanda and George Young. George Young obviously is like Malcolm and Angus's brother. So this album was kind of one of the first AC/DC albums that I got kind of familiar with growing up, because they were one of my dad's favorite bands, so the albums were kind of laying around the house when I first started getting into rock music. They were one of the earliest bands that I listened to a lot of their stuff. This was always one of my more favorite one of their albums, I think. The songs on it are really good. As far as like the recording and the production go, it's kind of, to me, it sounds like a little thinner than some of their later albums, but that's never really bothered me. I think it still sounds pretty good. And the band performs well, the songs are pretty good. So anyway, the first song, It's a Long Way to the Top, I think is a great opener. I think one of the great kind of Bon Scott AC/DC like rock anthems. It's got the bagpipes part in it, which always made it like a favorite. You know, me and my friends growing up. So definitely a great way to start the album. The second song, Rock and Roll Singer, is another really strong track. I've always thought the lyrics were pretty funny. I really like the guitar playing and Angus's guitar solo. The third song, The Jack, this song actually has like dirtier lyrics in the live versions, but I honestly find the studio version more funny, because I think the lyrics are a little more clever. But it's kind of a slower song. This album really kind of has like the kind of faster, heavier rock tracks, and then it has like some slower blues songs, and this is one of the like slower, more blues influenced songs. But I really like the guitar solo on it. I've always liked that. The fourth song, Live Wire, is just another really good song, and it's got another solo I like quite a bit in it. Just some really good guitar work. I really like the drumming a lot in it. The fifth song, TNT, is a song that probably everybody knows. You know, it's got really famous backing vocals. I think TNT might have been the first AC/DC song I ever heard. At least it's one of the earliest ones I can remember hearing. But it's another great track, you know, pretty classic one for the band. Not my favorite song on the album, but probably is for some people. The sixth song, Can I Sit Next to You, Girl? That's the only song on the album that was written by just Angus and Malcolm, because Bon helped on the other ones. And it's actually a really good song. There's an interesting version of the song, actually, I've seen on YouTube with, I can't remember the guy's name. I think his name was like Dave Evans or something like that. He was like their singer before Bon. And it's really weird because he has like an entirely different voice. So there's like two versions of it. But anyway, this version with Bon I really like, and it's a good song. The seventh song, Little Lover, is kind of one of the slower songs, like the Jack. And it was one of the songs that growing up when I would listen to this album, I would usually skip, or if I was listening through the whole album, I would kind of get bored with it. It's a little bit on the longer side. It's not the longest song on the album, but it's like, what is it, 5 minutes and 40 seconds. So it's kind of long and kind of a slower blues song, but now I actually really like it. I used to not really like it so much. Now I think the guitar part on it's really cool. I've kind of gotten into it. The eighth song, She's Got Balls, is the one song on the album that still kind of doesn't really work for me. It just, I don't know, it seems like it's kind of like a half-finished song maybe. Like I don't know, it doesn't completely work for me. So that's like really the one weak track on the album, I think. And then the ninth and final song, High Voltage, probably my favorite song on the album. It's got kind of one of my favorite AC/DC like riffs, and I've always liked the vocal performance by Bon on it, and just a like a great classic AC/DC song. So all in all, the album, I think it's only got one bad song on it, really. The rest of it, I really like all the rest of it. So I'd say American version of High Voltage for me is solid 4 out of 5. Definitely worth checking out if you want to hear AC/DC.